with him, Raz, and he'll lead you straight to his boss.
So, let's talk about tutorials. Psychonauts 2, mostly. The first half of their tutorial is fantastic, and it's well worth examining why.
We'll try to hit him off.
Be careful, darling.
So, when I think about a tutorial, I don't think about how well it teaches me to play the game. I think about how much it makes me want to play.
Stay close to him, Raz.
But don't freak him out.
Remember to act casual.
I am acting casual.
What's that?
I said, I love Casual Friday. Am I right? Attention. The tooth is loose.
Don't lose him, Raz.
So, there are so many mid-budget and indie games where I never make it through the tutorial because the tutorial is just too boring. It makes the game feel flat and uninteresting, and I haven't played the game yet. I've only played the tutorial, so my assumption is that the whole game is going to be flat and boring. And some really good games have suffered from this fate. Sable just came out, and it's got a tutorial so boring that I can't seem to make it through. And Sable is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. Fortunately, this game doesn't have that problem, which is strange because its tutorial is mechanically extremely boring. Listen, I'm punching. Can you hear me punching?
Uh-oh.
What is it?
I think he suspects something. He's taking countermeasures.
Just remember your basic rating, soldier.
Right.
Oh, right. I can only punch once you tell me I can punch. So that's the kind of tutorial it is. It's strictly linear and it's locked in. And normally speaking, that's the most boring possible tutorial because it shows you that the game is boring. It shows you the game doesn't have any choice or flex of any kind. It's an extremely boring way to do a tutorial, and they know it. So what they've done is they've sprinkled in a lot of stuff. They're going to show you what the game has in store for you. And the way they do that is they just take out all the stops and they try and show you the best cutscenes, the best fun things that can happen. For example,
You are following me. This was all a trick.
I'm not Employee of the Year.
I'm the greatest dentist of our century.
All agents, the tooth has gone bad. Repeat, the tooth has gone bad.
Maintain pursuit, Rasputin.
these are
Position to intercept.
These are fantastic voiceovers and fantastic cutscenes, but they're not the only thing that the tutorial does. It also goes out of its way to teach you about the world that you're in, and I don't mean this particular brain, I mean all brains. We learn about the concept of a mental space in this tutorial. It doesn't just teach us jump, punch, shoot. It teaches us exactly how the world itself can be expected to work. Because these psychic areas, they are,
Looking for me?
non-Euclidean.
Come and get me.
Oh, watch this LOD punch. This is great.
Why are you taking so long?
Oh, that was fantastic.
I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation you're in.
Watch out!
We're learning a lot about how the world works here. Yes, we're learning that we can jump off of walls and ledge climb and stuff, but more importantly, we're learning that this kind of mental space follows a different set of rules than we're used to.
Coach!
No time for small talk, soldier. The enemy is on the move. But we've got him cornered. This way. Quick!
We're also going to learn that scale and object permanence are not a thing inside of a mental world.
Hurry! We can't let him shake us.
Now, before the procedure, it's very important that we clean out your dentist hat. You don't want any dirty throwaways.
But the main point of the tutorial is to teach you how to do things, and so here is how to do things. I think the dodge is the one thing in this game that people really hate. The combat in this game, a lot of people say it's very hard. It's not, but it is very dodge-centric.
I've been bit.
And I think that's something that most people are uncomfortable with. But it's something you can also change. There's a setting in the settings menu to turn it off. So let's talk about some of the other stuff we're seeing here. We are seeing Figments, and now I'm not against Figments, but I've played a lot of games recently that are collectathons that are really good collectathons. For example, if you play Paradise Killer, that's a game that is entirely collectibles, but it's much better. These collectibles are weak.
Crushing.
I mean, they're okay. They're not terrible, but compared to games which specialize in collectibles, they are pretty limited. Now, they are better than just generics because you get to see something about how the brain you're in works, but they're still not great. They're also going to teach you about psychic powers, and the psychic powers are pretty good. There's a lot to love about them. There are some things that I don't love about them, which I'll talk about later. But the big thing that is a little bit dangerous is that they're hard to explain. There are a lot of things that don't really work exactly like you expect if you're just coming into the game. So they do need to teach each and every psychic ability in the tutorial, which is why this tutorial goes on just short of forever. Ew.
Good job, soldier.
What's that light?
Uh-oh. Zip it back up again. Zip it.
There. Now that your cap is clean, let's check out those choppers. If I didn't know better, I'd swear this place had gremlins. No problem. I'm sure I can do this in the dark.
These short cutscenes are supposed to help you, feel like these basic linear elements are fun.
This room is definitely
tutorial,
not in Sasha's plan. In fact, I think it's a trap.
So now we're going to learn how to fight. The Censors are a villain we're familiar with if we've played the first Psychonauts, but there are a lot of different kinds of enemies in this game, and I like them all.
Live in your
Talk about
mind.
them as they come
Stamp
up.
out things that don't belong.
Like us?
You handle this one. I'll find a way out.
I love this part. He catches the chair as he goes by. You can see how these enemies don't really get stun-locked, which is why it's a very dodge-centric affair. You can also stun them, yourself. But I think that most people expected the Psychonauts 2 combat to be like Psychonauts 1, where you just punch, punch, punch. But this has got a little bit of finesse to it. Again, you can turn it off if it bothers you. Or turn it down.
You just have to do your thing with the dental door here. Ugh. I can't even look at it.
So there are two big things we have to talk about here. The first big thing we have to talk about is the idea of a mental construct. This office space was created by Sasha 9, a psychonaut like ourselves, to trick Dr. Lobato into giving away the name of his boss. And that's good. That's something fun. But you can see that Dr. Lobato's basic brain is starting to reclaim this space now that Sasha 9 is no longer maintaining it. This is an important part of this game. Almost all of the brains in this game have this same basic setup where there is some kind of artificial construct, whether self-inflicted or inflicted by someone outside, and then there's the basic underlying brain that's breaking through. This is Dr. Lobato's backstory. He got hired to go down into an underwater base. This is all VR game stuff, I think. So as something that's going to be happening a lot, them establishing it as something that can happen here is important because it tells us what we're going to look for in the future. If nearly every brain is like this, then we can understand what parts of the brain are quote-unquote natural and what parts are imposed from outside and how that line gets drawn and how it might get played with in the future. That's an important thing to understand. It's not just a cool visual for the tutorial, it's teaching us one of the core facets of this game. And they're going to continue to teach this. This room will get steadily more and more overrun as time goes on. We also need to talk about what it gets overrun with, because it gets overrun with this gross stuff. Ew, gross. Why is this game so gross-out-centric? Well, at least this part of the game is, and that's because it's a teen-rated game. When you're going into someone's brain, you've got to find something inappropriate to make you feel like you're delving into their secrets, right? But it can't be too inappropriate or you'd get an AO or an M rating, so you can't use blood or tits or whatever. You got to keep it to something that keeps your teen rating, which is why we get a lot of gross out humor. There are, in fact, beats in this game where they very clearly earned themselves an M rating and then backed down. And we'll talk about that later on. They're mostly in the second half of the game. So it's not a surprise to me that they really had to try and figure out a good way to make you feel like you're delving into someone's inner secrets without actually earning themselves any high damaging ratings. So that's why it's gross out humor. And not every brain is gross out humor. They all have some element of gross out humor to them, but there's lots of other stuff that can be considered inappropriate, like gambling addictions or malpractice or, stuff like that. So we are going to see a lot of other approaches, but this is, I'm not going to say that Psychonauts 1 didn't have gross out humor. It had plenty. But Psychonauts 1 also had some secrets. Like when you went into Mia's brain, her construct was that roller disco, which was great. And then, of course, if you delved a little bit deeper, she had a whole bunch of nightmarish children who were, burning to death inside of a burning building. And it was like, oh, this is clearly like the deep, dark secret. This is like, okay, we have now gone off where we were supposed to be. It doesn't really happen in Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2, the brains are all pretty linear. There's not really any deep, dark secrets. So, it's one of those things where they have to give you something that will make the whole brain feel like you're delving into a secret. And that's exactly what they do with this gross-out humor. We'll talk about that more as it comes up later, but basically the reason this gross-out humor is here is because it's a T rating game, and if the gross-out humor wasn't here, there wouldn't be anything to make it seem like you were delving into someone's secret underbelly. Anyway, that is the good half of the tutorial. The problem is this tutorial goes on for another 15 minutes because they've got to teach you basically every power that you ended the last game with. Good sound design on these gross dental doors.
Hey, see what you can find that way. See you on the other side.
Sure, what we find that way is actually Sasha 9's shooting gallery. And I think that's where we'll start the second half of this because it's where things start to fall apart a little bit for the tutorial. The tutorial never gets bad, but it does go on for a really, really long time. See you around.